And welcome back. Well, I took the liberty of actually setting up our point connections for our two flaps, remaining aileron, our elevator and rudder. Now these are all on the x-axis except for the rudder, and I've left that intentionally on the z-axis, and we'll have a bit of a demonstration of what can go wrong if we don't use the x-axis. Now I'd like to point out that there is nothing I've done which we haven't already covered in the previous sessions, but we do need to have a look at the values that I've set in place for these. So we're on our control curve. Let's go Alt 1. Let's go Edit Delete. Now we've already seen the aileron port. Let's have a look at the aileron starboard. Okay, now here we are. So our range is from minus 40 degrees to plus 40 degrees. So where's our, I just pull that down there, pop up, aileron starboard, there we are, and that's the aileron starboard over there. So let's have a look. As we can see, rotates nicely along the x-axis. Let's have a look at the flap port side now. Flap port side, what have we got? Range from 0 to 70. Flap port, there it is, 0 to 70. Why 0? Well, the fact of the matter is the flaps don't go upwards, they only come downwards. They're actually used as a bit of a brake. So 0 to 70. Let's have a look at the elevator. Now the elevator is set at minus 35 to plus 35. This here is the elevator, and that's the controller there. So let's have a look at the elevator. We've got it set default to 0, so we can go up or down to the value of 35-degree angles. And finally the rudder. Let's have a look at the rudder. Again, minus 35 to plus 35. And if we watch that there, let's have a look. Rudder. So it swings about. Now you'll notice that it is rotating on the z-axis as it is at the moment. Okay. Let's close these down. So if you've just taken a note of those values there. If we now pop into our top viewport, let's just zoom out a little bit. We'll take a quick note of where we've actually positioned our point connections. As you can see, they are butt up to the wing on that side, again on this side, on that side. And if we go into our front viewport, as you can see, they're also following the line down there, the angle there and there. Staying with this viewport now, we have the rudder in the center of our tail section here, and also the elevator. Pop into the top viewport now. Let's have a look at that. Now with the rudder, it's butt up against the tail section, but with the elevator, that's actually butt up against here. If we go into perspective view, let's just take a quick look. As we can see, it's running through the center section, and it runs through there, right up against the rear wing. Okay, well that's that. And of course all are locked off on the Y and the Z axes, except for the rudder, which is locked off on the Y and the X axes. Okay, let's have a look at the rudder phenomena. I shouldn't say that. Phenomena. Phenomena. No, I shouldn't. Okay, let's have a look at the rudder phenomena. What I want to do is pop into our layers manager, tail section, let's unhide the rudder. Into our schematic view, we've got the rudder here, and what we want to do is link it to our rudder controller or connection. So link rudder to rudder connection. We'll close that for a moment. Now if we go to our rudder, there we can see it rotating nicely about the Z axis. Let's pop into our schematic view again. Now what we have to do is, with all our elements here, our point connections, we have to connect them either to the wing or to the fuselage. So with the rudder we'd actually be connecting it to the fuselage. So let's select our connect or our link. Let's select that, pop across, there we go, fuselage, and it's now placed that down at the bottom. Let's close that for a moment now, and let's use our rudder. Well, that ain't right. We definitely had it working the other way, and that's what I call the rudder phenomena. Catchy little tune is that one. Okay, to resolve it, what we're going to do is replace the Z-axis with the X-axis, and that will be resolved. Okay, let's pop into our schematic, pop down to fuselage, pick our point connection and go unlink, throws it over to the right somewhere, there it is. Let's select our rudder and let's go unlink again. So I'll just change this to the X axis and we'll be back in a moment. And that didn't take long, did it? Well, we've just changed this back, so now let's pop into our schematic view and we're going to select link. In fact, you'll notice actually schematic view 2. That's because I've got a schematic view open down here. So let's open this one up instead. And what are we looking for? Well, what we're looking for is the point connection rudder. I'm going to link that to the fuselage. There we go. Now I'm going to link the rudder to a point connection, which is down here. So same situation as we had before. Let's close that down. Let's pop down to our rudder and let's have a look. There we go. Now it's working just fine, doing what it's supposed to do. Now I do know what the problem is, and I think it's something that actually warrants a tutorial all of its own, but it might have something to do with hierarchy and don't affect children. Okay, let's return to this. Now that we've got these set up, we really do need to test them before actually linking them all to our control curve. So let's pop into our schematic view. Oh, first of all, I know what I've got to do. Layers manager, front wing, pop down and just unhide these. There we go. So everything eventually is going to be connected to our control curve Messerschmitt. So fuselage, we've got aileron port. So with our link tool, let's just connect aileron port to our connection layer. Our undercarriage, so that's our undercarriage there, so let's select that there, select that and link it to that. Cockpit, so that's canopy. In fact, I might change that to canopy. Cockpit's confusing me. Flap, that's port. Where's flap? Flap port. So let's bring that over. Flap port, that's going to be flap starboard. Flap starboard. Come on. Flap starboard. Aileron. Over to aileron. Where is our elevator? Anyone seen our elevator? There it is. There's our elevator. Elevator. So all these point connections now, except for the propeller and the fuselage, should have a connection. In fact, we can take the fuselage and connect that up. There we go. Okay, let's just very quickly pull this out, and remember they're not connected yet to our control curve. We're just checking these out. Does it pitch? Yes, it does. Or roll, I should say. Pitch. Yes. Trim. Nicely. Prop speed. Not yet. Undercarriage. That looks good. That looks good. Aileron port. That's working nicely. Back to the center. Starboard. Lovely. Flaps. Nice. Yeah. Rudder. Working as it should do. Elevator going down, going up. Great. So everything works fine. Cockpit hood. Yep. Okay, well, mindful of the time, we'll call that it for this session, and I'll catch you later.